Hi, I'm Rebecca Winter. Welcome to Prenatal Yoga and Introduction. For today's class, we are going to be going at a slower pace, and I'll be speaking a little bit more about the modifications that are good to make when you are practicing while pregnant. This practice is safe during all 3 trimesters of pregnancy, and it is safe for those who are beginners to yoga and those who have been practicing a long time. I want to start by introducing you to the props that I use for most of my prenatal yoga practices. Please note that there are lots of substitutions that you can make at home, so you don't need to go out and buy everything. So first off, I like to make sure that you have at least 2 bolsters or nice thick pillows around. These are yoga bolsters, so they're pretty firm. They hold their shape well. Another thing that you could use if you don't have thicker pillows around is you can also use a pregnancy pillow. We like to use as many props as possible during pregnancy to really make sure that our bodies are comfortable during the practice. I also have 2 foam blocks here. These are something that I probably would consider going out and buying, especially if you're brand new to yoga and you might not have some of the flexibility that people who've been practicing a long time might have, because this can help you be a little bit more comfortable in your poses. But if you don't have blocks around, you can still make do by shortening your stances a little bit, backing off in places, or some people actually use boxes if they're supportive. I always have a strap handy, even though we're not always going to use one. The strap can have a buckle or not, it doesn't matter. And a belt makes a really good strap. So that's a household item most people have. And then a couple comfort items. So I have a thin blanket and a thicker yoga blanket. A great substitute for a thin blanket is a towel. And the thicker yoga blanket, you can use a couple of towels, or if you have a really thick blanket at home, that works well too. It doesn't need to be the yoga style. So for today's practice, we're going to start in a comfortable seated position. And depending on how you're feeling and how your hips are feeling in pregnancy, that might look different for you. I always like to keep my hips elevated. Personally, I like using a block or a bolster. You can also use a rolled up blanket. So I'm going to start with my block in the middle of my mat, and I'll show you 2 variations of this. So the first, and the one that you probably see more commonly, is easy pose. So that's just my legs basically crisscross applesauce, but the block is helping my hips be higher than my knees. That's going to allow me to be more supported, allow me to be longer in my spine, allow my hips to release more down into the block. If you get into this position though, and your hips are just saying, no, we do not like this, then I welcome you to do this on your knees instead, and blocks can still come in handy for that. So you can use 1 or 2. I'm going to use 1 right now, and I'm going to set it at this medium height. I'm going to make sure that my sits bones are really well supported, and then I can kind of hug the block a little bit with my heels, and my legs are nice and parallel here. As your belly grows, opening your legs a little wider is totally fine. Just do what your body is comfortable with. And that's one of the big keys here with prenatal yoga. We're doing this to be supportive for our growing bodies, supportive for our minds that might have a lot of things going on right now, and supportive as a way to calm down our emotions. So if there are ever any poses that we're doing and they just don't feel good, even if they felt good yesterday and they don't feel good today, then I really encourage you to take any other pose you want. And as we're practicing today, we'll look at some options for that. You can even just lie down in Shavasana, just fully lying flat if that feels good to you as well, or lying on your side. And lastly, if you want to use 2 blocks in a situation like this on your knees, You can put the two blocks together and sit down as well. So I invite you to find the props that work for you and the position that you'd like to take today as we find a comfortable seat. Once you're there, I invite you to close your eyes. And we'll start by placing a hand on the heart and a hand on our baby. Start to let your hips sink down into whatever they're sitting on. Let the belly go. Starting to find some length in the spine, from tail up to crown. Allowing your shoulders to sink back and down. And once you're feeling comfortable, we'll move into some pranayama, some breath work. So we'll start nice and simply by deepening the breath in the nose and letting it fall out the mouth. In the nose, out the mouth. I want you to continue with this type of breath, following the pace of your own body. And we're going to take both hands and bring them down to our belly, giving our baby some nice support as we inhale deeply into belly, into hips and pelvis, and low back. Taking any sighs or yawns that feel good on the exhale. Know that sometimes forcing the body to yawn can be a great way to get rid of that tired energy. Try it with me. Allow the inhales to really open up your whole belly like a big balloon, filling that whole lower torso, front and back. Exhales completely empty the balloon, hugging baby a little closer. One more nice full belly breath. And then letting the hands slide up to the ribs. We're going to inhale, focusing on opening the ribs now. Inhaling through the nose, imagine that the ribs can open like a big umbrella, side to side, back and front. And on the exhales, we hug the ribs softly back to our body, letting the air just fall from the mouth. You'll hear me repeat often: soft jaw, soft cervix, open jaw, open cervix. That's a great thing to remember as you move into late pregnancy and into your birthing time. And for those who may be a little nervous, as long as you have a nice, healthy pregnancy, there's no reason not to practice these techniques in all stages of pregnancy. One more nice deep breath, opening the ribs. Softening the body on the exhale. And we'll let the hands come up to our heart now, as we let the inhales focusing on opening the chest, opening the heart and the lungs. On the exhales, the shoulders sink, the upper back melts. Inhales fully fill the chest, open through the collarbone. Exhales release. One more breath. And then hands can be on belly and chest as we take this into our full Dirga breath, full body breath. Inhaling through the nose, filling the belly, filling the ribs, filling the chest. Imagining that you can fill all the way up through the crown of the head. And when the body is beautifully full, allowing the air to fall out the mouth until you empty completely. Continuing at your pace, seeing how big you can be on your inhale. How much can you let go on your exhale? One more full deep breath at your pace. And then keeping the eyes closed, you can rest your hands in your lap and letting the breath return to neutral. And I just want you to take this moment to notice any shifts or changes in your body and mind. If you're at a stage in pregnancy where you can feel baby move, checking in to see, did this make your baby start to dance? Or did your baby decide it's a good time for a nap? Just notice the stillness. And now as you're ready, on an inhale, we'll lightly open the eyes. So we've been in one position for a while, and it's good to get a little bit of blood flow in the leg. You can remove anything that you're sitting on. We're going to let the legs come in front of us, soles of the feet on the ground, and the knees are wide. Hands are behind you for support. Inhaling here. Exhale, lower the knees to one side. Inhaling through center, we come to the other side. So we're just going to take this sweet little windshield wiper movement side to side. I encourage you to move with your breath. And we're checking in to see how those hips are doing today. So especially during pregnancy, yoga is both an exploration and a time for us to really celebrate what our body can do. So we see how our body feels a little bit different each day or during different times of the day. And we also celebrate how amazing it is that we're growing this baby inside of us and we can still come to our mat and practice. The next time you're on one side, you can hang out there. Nice breath into the hips. This might feel like a lot, or it might feel super easy. If it feels super easy and you want to ramp it up, you can take the inside foot and place it on the inside knee. Nice deep breath into the areas you feel this. Trying to let it go on the exhale. On your next inhale, releasing the foot, bringing the knees up. Exhaling it to the other side. Again, hanging out here or bringing that inside foot on top of the knee. And noticing what that hip needs right now. Can you create a little space using breath? Letting that exhale tell the muscles it's okay. You can let go. Good. Releasing, we're going to inhale the legs up. And then just bring the legs nice and wide. You may want to grab the flesh of your booty and pull it back a bit so your sits bones are really on the ground. We're going to inhale, arms up. And as you exhale, you're going to hinge forward, trying to keep the back nice and straight. There should be plenty of room for the belly here. And then when you're as straight as you can be, you can let the back round. Now you might be here, and that's fine. And when you let your back round, it could feel good if you grab a pillow and you bring the head down. One more breath. And inhale to rise. Good. Now we're going to come into our tabletop. So a nice tabletop is when you've got your wrists right below the elbows, knees right below the hip. In pregnancy, it can feel good to bring your knees a little wider. And I'm going to back up for just a moment here. And I'm going to take my thin blanket or the towel that you may have at home, and I'm going to place it underneath my knees for support. We're often on our knees a lot when we're doing yoga during pregnancy, so I like to leave that towel here for a good portion of the practice. So coming back in your table, we're going to talk about cat-cow and pregnancy. So generally, as we inhale into cow, we want to imagine that we're lifting just the chest and the head up. When we're not pregnant, we tend to also arch the low back, but I'm going to ask you during pregnancy to try to avoid that because you're already carrying a lot of weight on the belly, so you're already in this position a lot. There's no need to exacerbate that. So I'm going to focus on keeping my low back neutral as I inhale and bring my chest up. Exhaling into cat and arching. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. So I want you to follow your breath and your pace through this. And when I teach cat-cow, I want to make sure that it's not rigid. So if you feel like you want to take a little maybe S shape in your spine, move your hips or your head, you're welcome to make all those little movements. I just want it to also come from your breath. So follow your inhales, follow your exhales, and move in the way that feels right to you today. Good. And we're going to find a nice neutral spine. And take the right foot, curl the toes down on the mat, and then press back into that heel. I'm going to check in with the back of that right leg. Deep breaths in there. On an inhale, hug your baby in as you lift that leg up. So now we're starting to work on strengthening and waking up the core muscles. Great. One more breath here. And on an exhale, bring the knee down and find yourself a nice cat stretch. Inhaling to neutral, we'll take it to the other side. So we're going to curl the left toes on the mat, pressing back into the left heel. Breathing into where you feel that. And on an inhale, lifting the leg, hugging baby in. So this is beautiful to help start to strengthen our obliques and our transverse abdominis. Those are a lot of the core muscles that wrap around the bottom and the sides of the uterus, and they can be so beneficial during birthing time, helping to push that baby out. One more breath. Exhale, knee comes down, find a nice cat. Good. And coming back to neutral. So now we're going to, on an inhale, lift that right leg, flexing through the foot. And if that feels good, you can also lift the left arm straight ahead. So not only does strengthening these abdominals help during birthing, but it also really helps when you hit that third trimester and you start to have that big, round, beautiful belly. It helps your belly have a little more support. One more breath. Exhaling, release. Nice cat to bring you back to neutral. Coming to a flat back. Inhaling, left leg flexing through the foot. Right arm lifts if you feel stable. And you'll notice that my gaze is towards the front of my mat. I'm not looking up. I want my neck to be nice and long. Hugging that baby. Feeling that hug also wraps around your low back. One more breath. And exhale, release and round. Gorgeous. So we're going to curl the toes, sitting back onto the heel. And hands are going to come to prayer position. Now you might get here and say, oh my God, what are we doing? This is actually called screaming toes for a reason. I invite you to sit with this for a moment. If it feels just awful, you can go ahead and flatten your feet and sit back down. But stretching the soles of the feet, especially during pregnancy, can have a huge impact. Our feet can be so sore in pregnancy, and stretching the fascia, the connective tissue on the bottom of the feet, can really help with our posture and help with how our legs feel. And this also gives us the mental practice of learning to sit and release into discomfort. One more breath. Now on an inhale, arms rise and rise up onto your knees. And we're going to flow. So as you exhale, you'll bring the hands back down as if you're doing your cat-cow. And you're going to lean forward and just release your belly down. So the belly shouldn't be touching the floor here. This is going to give a little bit of that action as if we were doing some cobra, but it's just for a moment. As we exhale, you can bring your knees a little wider here. We're going to come through our child's pose. Inhale, arms rise, gaze rise. Exhale, hands through heart center. We dive forward, little baby cobra. Exhale, coming back. Inhale, rise. Exhale, hands through heart center, placing the palms, coming forward, and through child. Keep going at your breath, your pace. Good. One more time. Now this time I want you to come back in a child's and you're going to bring your knees nice and wide on the mat. If it hurts at all when you get your hips down towards your heels, you're always welcome to take a blanket or a bolster between the thighs and the calves. And we're going to bring the head down either to the mat or as close to the mat as possible. Elbows are soft. Nice deep breath as you start to calm the pulse back down. So if at any point you are feeling like you need a break during yoga, child's pose is a really great choice. That's something that you can get into. One more breath. And on an inhale, push through the hands, sitting back up onto your knees. And if you're using a prop, you can go ahead and remove it here. So we're going to bring hands a little farther forward than they were in table. Curl the toes. You're going to find your first downward facing dog. So in pregnancy, we want to think about bringing our feet wider than we do when we're practicing and not pregnant. And I want you to walk that dog. So bending one knee and then the other, pressing down through one heel and then the other. Just seeing what is going on with those legs today. And then I want all of us to bend one knee, flexing through the opposite foot, taking a nice long breath here. And reversing, flexing through the other foot now, bending the other knee. Nice deep breath into where you feel that. And then bending both knees, raise the hips up and back, as if someone were taking your hips and pulling you back and towards the ceiling or towards the sky. This should really allow you to get some more length in your spine. Hands are nice and firmly planted on your mat. Fingers are wide. And if you feel your shoulders are all up by your ears, bring those shoulder blades back down onto your ribs. Good. Now you can start to lengthen the legs. We're not going for picture perfect here. We don't need to get our heels down to the mat. Just any amount of length, trying to keep the spine nice and long. One full deep breath here. Good. Next, inhale, come back down to your knees into your tabletop. Excellent. So now we're going to bring our right foot onto the outside of the right hand. So this is another variation that we use during pregnancy. When we bring our feet forward after down dog or table, we bring the feet on the outside of the hand instead of the inside of the hand. This gives you a lot more room for your belly and also your hip. Plant the left hand down. Inhale, right arm rises. Nice open twist. There's a lot of misinformation out there about what's safe in yoga during pregnancy. Open twists are fantastic in all stages of pregnancy. They can help with your digestion, help for grounding. On your next exhale, bring that hand down. So while we want to be careful about closed twists, and now we're going to bring the elbow to the right knee, using that to balance us, and then inhaling, arms rise. Exhale, let the arms fall, thumbs spin out, opening through the chest. Make sure that your hips are as close to neutral as possible. So if you feel that you're arching, think about just releasing the hips and the glutes down. The arch should only come from the heart. Good. Nice breath here. And if it feels good, you can lean forward a little bit, which will start to open up the hip flexor from the leg that's on the ground. One more breath. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, hands to heart center. Great. We're going to bring our hands down and bring that knee back into table. Take a nice cat here just to counteract the pose. Coming back to neutral. Now we're going to bring our left foot to the outside of the left hand. Planting that right hand on the mat, we're going to inhale, left arm high. Gorgeous. So as I was mentioning earlier, closed twists aren't recommended during pregnancy, but you're going to know very quickly if it's something you should or shouldn't do, because you frankly won't be able to fit into a closed twist. You'd be compressing your belly. But these nice open twists can help if you have heartburn, help if you are dealing with constipation from pregnancy. They can even help your baby get in the best position for birth. On your next exhale, hand comes down. Now we're going to first bring an elbow to the knee, and as long as that feels good, you're going to inhale, arms rise. And now arch from the heart. Nice, neutral, low spine. And if you want to amp up the yumminess and you feel stable here, you can just lean a little forward in the hip, starting to open up that front hip flexor. That can feel super good, especially if you're getting a lot of round ligament zings. One more breath here. And as you exhale, hands come down and knee comes back. Good. We're going to find our down dog again. So hands come a little forward, toes curl, hips rise, downward facing dog. And breathe. Great. Now looking towards your hands, I want you just to walk up to the front of your mat. Legs can be a bit wider than hip distance. And I invite you to hang forward fold. For those of us who have practiced for a while, you might have a favorite forward fold position. And you are welcome to get into whatever position feels good. So just allowing the arms to hang. Knees should be a little bit bent. I don't want the knees locked here. And in fact, if it feels better for you, knees can be super bent. This is really more about releasing your spine than your legs. But if you do have a favorite position and you want maybe hands holding elbows or wrapping a little bit around the legs, obviously you can't pull because you've got your belly, then take the position that feels good for you. On an inhale, we're going to find a nice flat back. Hands come to shins or knees. Exhale, fold. We're going to bend the knees, bring the elbows to the knees, just making sure we feel nice and stable first. And then as you inhale, try to keep a flat back. Push through the feet to rise. Hands come up and hands through heart center. We'll bring a hand to the chest and a hand to our baby. If you feel stable, letting the eyes close here is great. And now can you release your hips? Can you release your thighs? Can you allow your bones to support you? And we find these still moments in yoga often mimic the still moments between pressure waves during birthing time. So I encourage you to really lean into the stillness. What can you let go of? What do you notice in your body, with your baby, in your mind, in your emotions? One more breath. And on your next inhale, lightly opening the eyes. And we'll do a short standing flow to talk about some of the differences that we do in pregnancy. So again, as we're standing, it's nice to have your feet a little bit wider than hip distance. If you are in the first trimester, you're not showing it all yet, you feel nice and stable, you can have your feet at hip distance. But even in the first trimester, you might be feeling a little woozy. It never hurts to have your feet a little bit wider. So on an inhale, I'm going to have you lift the arms, lift the gaze, and we're going to step the right foot back. And you want to be a little wider than normal again. So if you are a practiced yogi and you're used to having a thinner stance here, I want you to think a little wider. Now, I tend to always do my warrior ones as crescent because for my anatomy, that feels best. But if you like the stability of having that back heel down, then I welcome you to do so. So find the warrior one that feels comfortable in your body. Now, just as we did on the floor, I want you to let the arms fall back, spinning the palm, thinking about dropping the hips, finding that neutral low spine as your heart starts to rise. Next, inhale, arms rise, and we're going to spin that back heel, widening the stance, opening warrior two. So once again, we're not taking warrior two in a straight line. We're taking it a little bit wider for pregnancy. Gives us more stability, more room for our belly and hips. Looking over the front fingertip, we're going to flip that front palm, reach forward, rainbow up, peaceful warrior. As you exhale, coming forward, bring that front elbow down to the front knee, top arm rainbows overhead, and we find a side angle. Inhale to rise, warrior two. Beautiful. Spinning the back foot, warrior one. Really nice. And then bringing the hands down to give you support. You may want blocks here. And they can again be at any size. I want you to have a little bit of support as you bring your back foot forward and forward fold. Taking whatever forward fold position feels good. Inhaling flat back. Exhale, full. Bending the knees, bringing elbows to knees. And on your next inhale, flat back. Come on up. Exhale, hands come through heart center. And a hand comes to the heart. And a hand comes to our baby. Release the hips. Release the thighs. Slow it down, mama. Good. We'll take it to the other side. So as you're ready, you'll inhale, the eyes open. Arms rise. And we're going to step back now with the left foot. Great. So finding either your crescent or your warrior. Letting the hips drop nice and long through the low spine. And we're going to let the arms again fall back, opening through the chest. Our chest gets so tight, especially as our breasts grow during pregnancy. This is a nice way to counteract that. Next, inhale, arms rise. We spin that back heel down, widen the stance a little. And I don't mean just wide and lengthwise. I mean widen side to side too. Good. Bending through that front knee, looking over the front palm. We're going to flip the palm. Inhale, up and back, peaceful warrior. Exhale, elbow comes to knee, top arm rainbows overhead, side angle. Good. Inhale, back to our warrior two. Now I want you to parallel your feet and come so that they are now a bit on the same line. And we're going to do a little bit of goddess. So we're going to bring the heels in. Inhale, grow. Exhale, bending knees and elbows. Inhale, grow. Exhale to sink. Keep doing this at your pace here. So especially in prenatal yoga, we do work a lot with strengthening the leg. This is extremely helpful during birthing. And it helps give us the support that we need in that third trimester when we are so much fuller. Great. Now, next time you come into goddess, I want you to wrap the right elbow under the left. And now we're going to sway side to side. Imagine if you can bring your elbows up a little bit more. You'll often feel that stretch more through the upper back. Next, inhale, straighten the legs and the arms, look up. Exhale, goddess, wrapping the left elbow underneath the right and sway. Beautiful. So when we do our normal practices with a little bit of a slightly faster pace, or maybe less commentary, we tend to do a lot more with squatting and a lot more with legs. But we're just doing an introduction today. Next, inhale, arms open wide. And I want you to parallel the feet and try a nice wide-legged forward fold. So head will come down. So this is another great place to use blocks if that feels supportive to you. If you have the flexibility and you already have a wide leg forward fold in your practice, you're welcome to place hands wherever you prefer them. So some of us grab the heels, the ankles, some bring hands in front, and some bring hands behind. One more breath here. Great. And now we're going to bring the heels in again a little bit so that we can bend our knees and bring the elbows to the knees. You'll notice that I do this often. For those in the first trimester, you might not need to do this step, but this is very helpful, especially as your blood pressure starts to fluctuate more during pregnancy, just to make sure, okay, I've lifted my head, I feel stable, I can move on now. We're going to come into a deep squat, and a lot of us will need support to do that. So we're going to walk the heels in. I'm choosing to sit on a block. You can sit on a pillow. And some of us are very comfortable just doing a deep squat without having any assistance, and that's fine. So choose the position that feels good for you. I'm going to bring my elbows on the insides of my knees for some support. Hands are at heart center. And as long as I feel nice and supported here, I'm going to close my eyes. So this again is one of those moments that I want to enjoy the stillness. And in all of my prenatal videos, we do a little bit of work on the pelvic floor. I'll do an entire video of an introduction to the pelvic floor. So today will just be very brief. Some of you may already be familiar with Kegels, so that is similar to what we're going to do now. So when I ask you to engage your pelvic floor, what I mean is to squeeze the muscles that you would use to stop yourself from urinating. And for some of us, we will feel that those go in layers, starting down right at the base of the perineum and then growing up through the pelvis. And some of us can feel the layer and layer and layer all the way up to the uterus. You might feel none of that, and that is fine. That's great. We all need a place to start here. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is the next time you inhale, I want you to imagine that you can start to engage that pelvic floor, start to pull up from the ground all the way up as if we're riding an elevator up, up, up. And your elevator might have just that ground floor, and that's beautiful. And maybe you feel it rising up, up, up. And then as you exhale, releasing completely. So during pregnancy, we're not just trying to keep that pelvic floor tight. We also really need to release, because that's the end game, right? We need to really open up, let baby go. But in the meantime, we strengthen. Inhaling and we contract. Exhaling, we release. Keep following your breath and pace. I think of all the muscles to strengthen during pregnancy. Strengthening the pelvic floor is the most beneficial. This is also very true postpartum. And do one more. Good. Releasing completely. Wonderful. So we're going to come off of whatever we're sitting on. If you still have your blanket or towel on the mat, you can go ahead and remove that now. And we're going to come all the way onto our back. So another one of those misconceptions with yoga and pregnancy is, oh my gosh, you can't put a pregnant woman on her back. For short periods of time, it's totally okay. And you will know if it's not okay for you to be on your back because you will start to feel nauseous or dizzy. That means that baby has put some weight on your vena cava, one of your major arteries, and it's time to sit up and shift. So I want you to bring your heels as close to your buttocks as possible. We're going to be setting up for bridge. And if you have a block, placing it between the legs is really a nice way to engage the inner thighs. So when I teach bridge during pregnancy, I really want you to think about pushing up through the soles of your feet rather than just lifting the hips, because we're again not looking to arch the low spine. So as you're ready, you're going to inhale, press through the soles of the feet, lifting the hips high. For your arms, any position that feels comfortable is good. So today I'm just going to do super basic and keep my hands right where they are. I'm going to think about, can I relax my hips while I press through the soles of my feet, keeping my hips high? And I'm going to let you decide when you're done with bridge. We're going to do 2 sets here. And when your body says, I am tired and I am done, you're going to come down from your first set. You're going to take a moment, and then you're going to come up as you're ready. So another misconception of yoga during pregnancy is people who say you can't do inversions. So anything where your hips are higher than your head, which we did several of that today, in our forward folds, in our down dog, and in our bridge. Some people say that that's not safe during pregnancy, and it's quite the contrary. This is actually really helpful to get baby in a great position for birthing, especially if baby is breached, but even if baby is not breached, it's really helpful. And again, it is totally safe to do as long as you feel stable. Usually the concern is a mama falling over, but obviously right now I have support through my shoulders, through my feet. I'm not falling anywhere. So as long as you feel comfortable doing it, there's no reason not to. So I'm down from my second set, and I've removed the block. And from here, we're going to find our Shavasana today. And I'm going to show you 2 ways to safely take Shavasana during pregnancy. So with Shavasana, we often lie flat on our back, which again is fine for short periods of time in pregnancy. But since we hold Shavasana for a while, I would prefer it if you don't take it flat on your back. My favorite position is side lying. So I take one of my pillows and I place it up for my head. And I take one of my pillows and I place it between my legs, supporting both my knees and my ankles. And sometimes if I have another pillow or if I have a block, I'll put it between my arms. It's a nice huggy bear. So you can see that if you have a pregnancy pillow at home, this is perfect. You can just use a pregnancy pillow instead of multiple props. So this is a beautiful way to take Shavasana. If you're chilly, putting on a blanket. I love for people to make themselves really cozy during Shavasana. Alternatively, you can still safely take Shavasana on your back. I take my block and I choose a height that I prefer. So you've got your baby bear, your mama bear, your papa bear. I'm going to go for my mama bear today. I take my bolster and I place it on my block. So I've created a nice triangular shape. And I'm going to take my other pillow and place it under my knees. So my hips are right up against my bolster and I can lie down across it. And I can bring my arms out with my palms facing up. This is a great way to take Shavasana if you are experiencing some heartburn, if you do have a lot of tension across the chest or in the upper back. So this is how I'll stay today. I invite you to find the right position for you today. And once you're there, I want you to start the process of fully letting go. I'm going to release the weight of the head, allowing the eyes to float in their socket. All expression falls from the face. Jaw releases. Teeth separate. And tongue floats in the mouth. Letting the back of the head release. Down through the neck. Open through the throat. Letting the shoulders release. Allowing the arms to be heavy from shoulder to elbow to wrist and through every finger. Upper back melts. Feeling space and stillness in the chest. Open in the heart and the lungs. Allowing the ribs and the mid-back to release. Soft in the sternum. All emotion pours away from the solar plexus. Releasing in the low back as you allow the belly to be big, round, and soft. Plenty of room for baby to move and grow. Releasing in the hips, in the pelvis, in the pelvic floor. Down through the thighs, through the knees, the calves and the shins. Down through the ankles, tops and soles of the feet, and every toe. Take this time, completely release your body. Surrender. Your body and your baby are healthy and strong. Your body and your baby are healthy and strong. Your body and your baby are healthy and strong. Beginning to deepen the breath, coming back to your body, noticing if your baby is dwindled to sleep or if they're dancing away. Bringing movement into fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. And then taking all the time you need to come back to a comfortable seat, keeping your eyes closed or your gaze soft, moving slowly, and using your hands and arms to help lift you up as much as possible. When you find your seat, once again, I encourage you to sit up on a pillow or a block so that your hips are elevated above your knees. Take your time, no rush. And when you find your seat, allow a hand to come to the heart and a hand to come to your baby once more as we check back in. It is such a special time as you grow new life in your body. Such a special time to nurture yourself as your body nurtures this growing baby inside. I invite you to bring your hands to Anjali Mudra prayer position. Thumbs graze the sternum and we lightly bow the head. And I always like to give gratitude to ourselves first, thanking yourself for making time for this practice, time to care for your body, time to quiet your mind and still your emotions. By taking time to care for ourselves, we can be more caring and loving to those all around us, especially to our new growing baby. Lifting the gaze, we thank each other with a namaste. I thank you for practicing with me today. I hope you enjoyed this practice and that you'll enjoy exploring yoga during your pregnancy. Be well.